What's up, everybody? It's Ivan back with your bi-weekly fishing report and forecast. This time it's the November 14th edition. We are firmly in late fall, early winter, and fishing reflects that. So blue wings are still playing a role, still seeing them when the conditions are right, especially with this mild weather that we have and should have for the next week. And midges will continue to play the largest role. The lion's share of your eats are going to be on midges. You're also going to see some eats on some attractors like eggs, whether you're fishing freestones or tailwaters. Egg game is here for the winter time, and then if you're persistent, you can throw streamers and pick some up, and hopefully pick some nice ones up on freestones. So, as I said, weather over the next couple weeks is going to continue to be mild through this next week, and then into sort of the holidays is going to start getting a little bit colder as we get closer to Thanksgiving. So, with that in mind, there's a couple cloudy days coming up. Blue wings should be popping off, and otherwise, when you have sunny days and it's pretty mild, you should see some midges coming off. So, and fish responding to them. For the tailwaters, we're actually seeing a bump in flow. I'm not sure if it's a temporary bump. For some reason there's a call downstream for water along the South Platte, but flows bumped on the Dream, 11 Mile, and Deckers. All things we like to see, especially going into the typically lower, colder flows of wintertime. So if it stays that way over the course of the next 2 weeks, that means fish should be less spooky. They should be a little bit, you should be able to get away with 5x, 6x if you have to, whereas with the low flows, generally 6x is the way to go. So if I look at my trusty sheet, Deckers 98.5, so that's bumped like almost half, I guess almost doubled. Words are hard. 11 Mile 77.4, and the Dream 118. So certainly like to see those bumps and flows, especially in the late fall, early winter. It was just at Deckers yesterday. It was Deckers a couple over the weekend, and eggs, blue wing olives, midges. That was the game. We saw some risers here and there. They could be picked off, but they're eating small stuff, eating small blue wing olives, and small midges, and you have to be right with your drift. And it takes a little bit of persistence, especially if the light is low and you can't necessarily pick up your dry fly as well. But otherwise, chartreuse, orange eggs, all picked up fish, especially through those deep runs where they'll be holding traditionally for the late fall and winter. And then, your blue wing olives, your RS2s, your Juju betas, all picked up fish. Bars emergers picked up some fish. Pretty much, find your favorite blue wing olive pattern and fishing confidently through runs that are holding fish. That's the big thing, is finding runs that are holding fish, finding the slower water, because they're starting to, water temperatures starting to get low, where you need to, find concentrations of fish where they are going to be happier, as opposed to, you're not going to see them as much in the riffles, although, with plenty of protein in the system, with all those eggs in the system, this can be a great time to pick up rainbows after the brown trout spawn ends. A lot of rainbows will be hanging out in the riffles behind those reds, picking up big clumps of protein, so that's always a good thing. Deckers fished really well. Yesterday we saw some dry fly action with some of the clouds overhead, and it was cool to see pods of fish rising there. Same thing started to happen as the sun came out. We started to see, continue to see them rising, and they started to move to midges. So Griffith's gnats, small parachute islands with the tail cut off for those. Matt's midge, some of those standard dry fly midge options will work, and then using maybe a blue wing olive cider, something that you can see a little bit better. So extended body BWO, Iwani done, whatever you like to fish for those blue wing olives, I would recommend. It's more of a confidence thing, like sparkle done. I love throwing sparkle done this time of year in the blue wing olive sizes. Blue wing olive color in like 20s, 22s. It's pretty easy to see, and then use a like a Griffith's gnat trailing that, like say 16 inches behind that. It's tends to work well for those winter rises on the freestones, or the tailwaters, I should say. With the freestones, fished the Colorado last week, and they were holding deep. I was using a pretty heavy sinking line, like a sink 7, and you really had to crawl along the bottom to get eats, which is perfectly fine. I'm all right with doing that. They tend to pick up some brighter, flashier stuff because it was a brighter day, so the Crelex was picking up fish, picking up a couple fish here and there. And then we also nymphed a little bit, and eggs, blueing olives, midges. Caught quite a few on McCannell's Nightmare, or Neon Nightmare, and then also on the Mighty Midge, which is always good to pick some up on some of Matt's new patterns. Caught some whitefish on those too, but we won't tell Matt about that. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty simple when it comes to fly choice. It's mostly about finding the right zone, finding the fish, and then making sure your depth is correct and your weights are correct. With the lower flows, generally like to obviously not put as much weight down, let my flies get down slower, but sort of into the pocket and not making as much of a splash, and sort of getting a natural drift through there. The higher flows are like to use a little bit more weight, and obviously the lower flows, lighten those tippets, a little bit less weight, and should find success. So fishing looks good. The forecast looks good. Obviously, it's a little bit more mild than I think I would have expected, but that's not a bad thing for fishing by any stretch of the imagination. Quick reminder, we are doing our 3rd annual Black Friday river cleanup. So the day after Thanksgiving, which is November the 29th, we are closing our shop, and we will be cleaning up the South Platte downstream of Deckers. So look for more information on the website about that. We're super excited to do this for a 3rd straight year and help out a resource that is so close and gives us so much over the course of the year. So look forward to seeing you guys there, out on the water, here in the shop. Yeah, we'll see you later. Bye.